Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is, well, it's to really unpack a tough case. We're looking at elder care, negligence, accountability, and a pretty significant legal settlement.
Yeah, a really complex one. It actually involves a case other lawyers turned down first.
Is that right?
We're talking about a gentleman named Louis Father, grandfather, and the headline number is a $1,062,500 settlement California hospital case.
Okay, over $1 million.
Yeah.
So clearly something went terribly wrong.
Exactly. But the why behind that number and why it was such a fight, that's what we need to get into.
All right, let's lay out the timeline. So Louis is admitted to the hospital. This is back on June 29, 2017.
Right. And he had serious underlying issues,
Yeah.
acute hypoxic respiratory failure, congestive heart failure, chronic kidney disease.
So already quite ill. But the crucial point here, sources say, is that he was admitted without any pressure injuries. Zero.
That's the baseline, absolutely critical, because fast forward at less than a month while he's still in their care, the hospital staff themselves document an unstageable pressure injury on his lower coccyx.
Unstageable. What does that mean exactly? Like really bad?
It means it's bad, so bad, or covered by dead tissue, they can't even determine the depth, the stage of the wound yet. It's a major sign of neglect right there.
Wow. Okay. But here's something else that seems off. The sources say this injury, this known injury, was never disclosed.
Correct. Not to the family, not to the staff at the boarding care facility he was discharged to just a few days later, August 3rd.
Wait, so the hospital knew about this serious wound and they just didn't tell the next caregivers? How is that possible?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? It's like a second failure piled on top of the first. And it had immediate, really terrible consequences.
So what happened when he got to the boarding care?
The family only found out because the staff there discovered it, and by that point, it had already gotten much worse.
How much worse?
It was documented as a stage 3 pressure injury. And Louis had a fever, a high one, 102 degrees.
Oh, man. 102, that screams infection.
Exactly. A severe infection had clearly taken hold because of this wound and the lack of timely treatment.
And it didn't stop there, did it?
No. He was later moved again, diagnosed then with a stage 4V pressure injury, that's the most severe stage. Bone or muscle might be visible.
Just awful. And this ultimately contributed to his death.
Yes. The infection progressed, led to septic shock. And septic shock was listed right there on his death certificate as an underlying cause, a preventable injury leading to a fatal outcome.
It seems so clear-cut from a medical standpoint, but you mentioned other lawyers turned this down. Why the difficulty legally?
Well, think about it. He moved between facilities, proving exactly who was responsible for the worsening, especially when the initial injury wasn't disclosed. That's legally challenging. It requires a lot of work to pin down liability.
Right, and that leads us to the legal fight itself. Nearly 5 years, the sources say.
5 years. It was a marathon. And get this, the attorneys had to file 7 motions to compel discovery.
7. Okay, for those of us not in the legal world, what does compelled discovery actually mean here? What were they fighting for?
It basically means the hospital wasn't handing over evidence, information, documents they needed to prove the case. 7 times they had to ask a judge to force the hospital to cooperate.
So the hospital was actively resisting. That sounds obstructive.
Well, the court seemed to think so. The attorneys won over $5,000 in sanctions against the hospital for discovery issues.
So actual fines because they were stonewalling.
Precisely. It just shows you the kind of uphill battle the family's legal team faced. But they stuck with it.
And eventually they succeeded. They held the hospital accountable for violating, what, state and federal standards?
Yes. Clear violations of care standards, which led to that $1,062,500 settlement.
Which for the family must have brought some sense of closure, justice.
Some measure of it, yes. The daughter mentioned feeling heard, finally, and being treated with respect and compassion by their lawyers. It really underscores the human cost and the persistence needed.
It really does. It shows the devastating impact when care standards fail, but also, I guess, the sheer determination required to get accountability.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with a pretty important question, I think. We know pressure injuries like this are largely preventable, right? And the law says failing to meet care standards is serious.
Right.
So why a 5-year fight? Why multiple court orders? Just to get basic information. It makes you wonder what specific institutional barriers exist that make transparency and accountability so incredibly difficult to achieve in these elder care situations. That's something we really need to think about when we talk about improving preventative care.